Hi, in this video I'll be showing some of the advantages and disadvantages of cooking using an air fryer or an oven. At this time of recording in the UK, energy prices are going through the roof, and through the press they've discovered that air fryer cooking is a very good way of doing it because it can be quite energy efficient. But all I want to do is I just want to cover some of the, advantages and disadvantages that both offer. Just before I start, I would appreciate it if you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just give us a quick thumbs up. So just give you a brief overview. On a traditional oven like this is just a standard hotpoint integrated oven. What will happen is that you've got a heating element at the top, and clearly that will cook the food from above. On this model it does also have a fan, so that can help to circulate the air to speed up the cooking. With an air fryer it's slightly different. Rather than just having an element at the top and the food underneath, which is a similar concept to the oven, what this will do is it will actually circulate hot air quickly around the unit itself. And because most of the time the food is suspended within a basket, then what that means is using the fan technology within the air fryer, it'll cook everything very evenly. What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of using an air fryer compared to an oven? First of all, let's look at the capacity. Now, as you can see, the unit here itself is a lot smaller than, say, a standard oven, so that's something to consider. For few people, it'll be a case of either an oven or an air fryer. We do find that a lot of people have got a main oven anyway, and you're buying an air fryer as an additional item. On the whole, for an air fryer, capacity-wise, you're looking between 4 and 5 litres for some of the standard models. As you go up in the range, you can go up to around 8-9 litres. As you go onto an oven, as standard, you're looking around between 60 and 70 litres. So clearly you've got a lot more capacity, there's a lot more space within the oven. So I suppose all I would say is if you're going to cook a big dinner, so if you're doing something like a Sunday roast where you've got a joint, you've got potatoes, sausages for example, if you've got a lot to do, then clearly it's going to be more efficient to have the oven on and to put everything in because you can cook everything at the same time. If you're going to use an air fryer, if you're going to try and do the joint, then the potatoes, then sausages, then it's not going to work. I know some people have done it, especially if you live on your own, or if you're not cooking for too many people, then you can make it work. I have seen it in action. But in general, if you are, say, a large family, then using an oven could be a better option. Where the air fryer really comes into its own is when you want to cook individual items, things like a handful of chicken breasts, or if you just want to cook, say, a tray of chips, then using the air fryer can be a much better way of doing it. Now, a couple of reasons for that. First of all, if you've got the food suspended in a basket, or on this model, you've actually got a grill rack as well with it, what will happen is that if you've got something that, say, generates fat, so if you're cooking things like sausages, where you get the fat coming out sausages, then rather than sitting within the fat, if you've got the basket, or on this one, the grill rack, then it will just drip through. And that's a much healthier way of cooking, rather than just sticking them on, say, a sheet or an oven tray and putting them in the oven. One of the main reasons that air fryers have been in the press a lot recently are the cost-saving implications that you can find. Now, to use an air fryer can be pretty energy efficient. On the whole, I mean, this one is around 1800 watts. It's not so much the cost of using the air fryer itself against the oven. So on the whole, an oven, you're probably looking between 3 and 4 kilowatts, depending on the oven clearly that you've got. But the main advantage, using an air fryer can be a lot quicker to cook. So what I mean by that is because it's circulating the air, and especially if you're using the baskets as well, for example, things like chips, they will cook normally a lot quicker in the air fryer because it's circulating the air around the chips compared to just sitting on a tray within the oven. So whereas you could be looking, say, I don't know, say 10 or 12 minutes in the air fryer, you could be looking around 20 minutes in the oven. And clearly that's where the cost saving implication comes in. And the reason that can be really important is that in the UK here, last year, our average electricity cost pence per unit was around 21 pence. At the moment, you're looking around 28 to 30 pence, so there has been quite an increase. And there is talk within the next 3 or 4 months of that rising to over 50 pence per kilowatt hour. Now, for some people, it doesn't tend to mean a huge amount, but you will notice it when you start to get your electric bills through. So what foods can you cook in an air fryer and what can't you cook? Air fryers very much tend to lend themselves towards things like potato, kind of dishes or some meats, so things like chicken, bacon can be really good in it. There are some other meats, things like burgers, that don't tend to be quite as good. That's why a lot of companies, especially like Ninja, will offer models with a grill. Personally, I've got one with a grill at home and I use it a huge amount. I tend to use the grill side of it more than the air frying side. Because you've got the grill rack, then a lot of the meats that you put on will just sit on there, and any of the meat juices that come off it will just drip through, so they're not sitting within the juice, which is really good and it's a good health benefit for you. There are some foods that are not recommended to cook in an air fryer. If you've got something, say with wet batter, if you've got a piece of fish and you've got some fresh batter, then that's not going to work at all in an air fryer. There are other things as well, things like burgers are not ideal to cook in an air fryer. I know you can do. I'd always ask for your recommendation. What food have you either tried in an air fryer that either hasn't worked, or what's something that you really like in an air fryer? What's your favourite? Next thing to mention is the cleaning of the air fryer against the oven. Clearly you'll find with an air fryer, on the whole, all you need to do is just take out the tray, and if you've got a basket inside or a grill rack like this, a couple of options. If you have got a dishwasher, personally I'd recommend just taking them out, pop them in the dishwasher, because they will come out nice and clean. Some of these can be quite difficult, and I know that from personal experience, to clean just using a brush. You just got because you've got the little elements in here, it just makes it a bit more difficult to get the brush in there. It's easily done, but it's a lot easier if you've got a dishwasher, just pop everything in there. With an oven, completely different concept. Rather than just taking everything out and popping it in the dishwasher, then you've got the cavity itself to clean. Clearly if you've got a tray, if you've got one of the big trays that was in here, you either hand wash it or you can pop it in the dishwasher if you want to. When it comes to cleaning the oven, then I know for a lot of people they don't do it every time, so it's not quite the same as cleaning this in the air fryer. But overall, a lot of ovens do have cleaning functions now, or they have aids within the oven to help you clean. I mean, on this one it's got Stay Clean catalytic liners. Quite a few ovens have things like pyrolytic cleaning now that raises the temperature of the oven. It locks the door and then it just burns off any of the grease or fat that was on there, burns it off and just leaves a little pile of ash at the bottom. So things like that are available on some of the better ovens on the market. Some of the features that air fryers offer, apart from just air frying, are things like grill, which this model got. You've got things like roast, bake, dehydrate. So if you are looking for an air fryer, then look out for some of these other programs as well. I know I sound quite an advocate of the grill. That's because personally the one I've got at home has got a grill, and depending on what you're cooking, I suppose if it's things like bacon or sausages or especially burgers, I can guarantee that the result that you get from using an air fryer with a grill is fantastic for burgers. So I suppose in summary, should you buy an air fryer? Personally, I think they're a really good decision, especially if you do a lot of cooking. If you're doing a lot of cooking where sometimes you're doing small batches, as mentioned earlier, just things like, say, chicken nuggets, or if you wanted to cook, say, chips on their own, then an air fryer can be a very energy efficient way of cooking. You'll also find that when it comes to batch cooking, so if you're doing a large meal, so if you do it as I used earlier, you know, the Sunday roast, then personally I'd just recommend putting it in the oven. But on the other hand, some people would think, well, I'll put some items in the air fryer to cook, then I'll put some items in the oven to cook. And clearly from an energy point of view, that's not very cost effective. Personally, if I have that situation, I just put everything in the oven rather than having two appliances running at the same time. I know on the very rare occasion it's actually helped me out because I've just not had space in the oven, so having the air fryer to use has been a godsend. But I want your feedback. I want to know what you think about air fryers. Is it something you use at home? Have you got one? Which model is it you've got? Also, what type of food is it you cook? Or what type of meals do you cook in it? And what the advantages and disadvantages? I just want your feedback on this, please. Anyway, I hope you found it a little bit useful on some of the different ways of cooking between an air fryer and a standard oven. I would appreciate it if you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just give us a quick thumbs up. If you've got any questions on air fryers, then I have got several on display, and then just pop it in the comments below and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching.